Okay, we're at part 4 of my deep dive into a legendary but disgraced director, Shane Carruth, and we're going to be talking about The Last Project, the behemoth 185-page unproduced screenplay for the maritime action-adventure epic, The Modern Ocean, which at one point had attached Daniel Radcliffe, Anne Hathaway, Keanu Reeves, and a young Tom Holland to lead, but was ultimately, and very obviously upon reading the script, never produced. And it's not because the script is bad. It's fascinating, and it's a real departure from Carruth's earlier work. In fact, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through just the beats of the plot in one part. But it's because all of the major pitfalls of a heavy production cost are included in this, including an R rating, heavy scenes on the ocean, and multiple locations spanning the entire globe. Not to mention, it includes the hallmarks of Carruth's writing, which is extremely sparse dialogue, nonlinear storytelling, and an incredible attention to detail that I think would alienate a lot of audiences. But I'll try to give you a pitch on what the vibes of the film are. So it's basically like a very, very smart Christopher Nolan kind of action movie with touches of like Herman Melville and that kind of emotional nautical vibe mixed with like a boy adventure story like Tintin or something. And while these actors were attached, it was never confirmed which roles they're playing, so I'm just going to assume which ones based on context. The film opens aboard a Japanese research vessel where we're introduced to a 14-year-old boy on the ship called Pyram. And in classic Shane Carruth style, we're led intricately to the process of them drilling these kind of cylindrical things into the ocean floor and retrieving soil samples of some sort for unknown purposes. And Pyram, again, a 14-year-old boy, is inexplicably like a member of this crew and seems to be like leading whatever experiments they're doing. But he gets in a kind of confrontation with one of the Japanese crewmates over a puppy and makes a wager that he loses. And Pyram very methodically and ruthlessly, which is his personality, sets this guy up to make it look like he beat him up and broke his arm. He even goes as far as to set a like Rube Goldberg machine in these little corridors that he stows away in to actually break his own arm. Afterward, we're whisked away to Mumbai, where we see Pyram entering certain shops and tailors. And in a kind of weird sequence, he's kind of quizzing these attendants or these tailors on like the price of things, what color car was that, what make is this watch, etc. Kind of like memory tests. And we're not sure why until we realize he's just looking for like an adult stand-in to pitch his idea that he was doing in the Japanese research vessel to maritime investors. And this is where it's clarified like what Pyram's innovation is. So the thing that Pyram is pitching is that the capsules that drill into the ocean soil is part of a process to predict the weather. In that by taking the samples from the ocean floor, the sediment from which fish populations left behind reveals itself over time, kind of like looking through a tree trunk, which combined with like water temperature is a way for them to predict the weather patterns and the currents, improving the route time for this type of transatlantic shipping trade. So Pyram uses this stand-in to pitch to investors, but they don't buy it. They want more traditional assets like ship salvage or something. But in the wake of that failed investor meeting, he sabotages the pitch by Gail Corbusier, a kind of maritime Nepo baby that's trying to pitch a ship salvage, which Pyram sabotages by describing that the ship, if they attempt to salvage it, is like a death mission because of the way the like ship sits on sediment or something. Pyram's criticism is ignored by Gale, who we learn is like trying to kind of prove his worth in the family name, the Corbusier family name. And we learn pretty quickly that Gale ignored Pyrat's warning and actually killed members of the crew in an attempt to do the salvage. But Gale recognized that Pyrat was right, so he kind of takes him under his wing and they go to New York. And it's in New York that Pyram is kind of introduced to the Corbusier family and its shipping empire, which we learn is in decline. And the patriarch of the family is literally on life support, completely incapacitated. And the Corbusier business is run entirely by Renee, who kind of in a Rey Skywalker way isn't actually a Corbusier, but has taken the name upon himself, which we learn why later. Gale pitches Renee on the effectiveness of Pyram's new innovation, and Renee grabs onto it, thinking that this will kind of restore order to the way things are with the Corbusiers on top. It's also here that Pyram meets the object of his desire, this woman named Carruth, who is also a member of a maritime family, one that operates more on the fringes of legality. So under Renee's discretion, Gale, Renee, and Pyram kind of commandeer a ship called the Torque Eleanor in efforts to test out Pyram's theory. And right away, there's a power struggle between Renee, who operates as kind of the ship's captain, and Pyram, who is probably somewhat of a Shane Carruth stand-in, is a total stubborn rascal the whole time. And when deciding which way to go in this route, one the kind of more efficient way on paper and the other Pyram's way. And here we're introduced to Beth. Beth is Gale's sister, and it's revealed that she has what is probably assumed to be a brain tumor. And so periodically throughout the script, she kind of inexplicably bursts into these like fits of rage. But Beth is constantly working behind the scenes, we realize, to formate a kind of insurance fraud to get back at like an ancient family rivalry with this guy named Demangier. It's never explained what he did, but like her intense passion to get retribution shows that something must have gone really wrong. But Beth introduces us to a kind of secret underworld of the shipping community, which is that there's like an underground black market stock trade from which there are these tokens that represent certain assets, but they expire within 3 days. And so Beth is kind of introduced as orchestrating this insurance fraud, which tangles together all sorts of different ships, different containers, faked sinkages, fake deaths that all kind of conclude in this cyclical motion of the ships that would tie up all the money indefinitely, all laundered through this kind of underground market of like tokens. And meanwhile, back on the Torque, Gale and Pyram are developing a friendship. They're like playing with mines, they're playing with certain weapons on the ship, they're kind of like bonding. But you can tell Pyram is skeptical of Gale because he thinks that Gale will just become another rich person who essentially will control his own like genius and not give him credit, basically. So there's mounting tension. And during the route that they have like unearthed, they keep crossing paths with a rival maritime group headed by Lock Pitt, for whom Pirate's obsession, Court, is a critical part of their like safety and strategy. And because, as I stated earlier, routes are like proprietary, and the Pyram navigation system is like cutting through these hyper efficient routes, they start sabotaging each other, using ships as weapons and getting into like high seas antics. During this time, Renee is kind of like losing his grip on really everything. And at one point, commandeers and kidnaps the rival, the Boissier's son, and unalives him in a shipping container. All of this culminating in a kind of 3-ship epic sea battle between the Torque, the Pitt-commanded Whittier, and a kind of Mad Max pirated outfit ship, the Mad Hatter. And it's crazy. There's people boarding ships. Gale and Pyram are developing a friendship, shooting people with rifles. It gets insanely violent and explosive, and there's just basically chaos all over the place. At one point, shooting rifles, Pyram tells Gale that he's his best friend. But this comes crumbling down as Renee holds Court hostage and like injures her on a rival boat. And Pyram goes to shoot Renee, and Gale kind of nudges him at the last second and the bullet doesn't hit. So it kind of breaks their friendship forever. And in the chaos, they've set up a bunch of booby traps across all the ships, and they eventually periodically sink them and disable certain mechanisms for flotation to end the battle and kind of sink every ship except for the Whittier. And at the end of the battle, they all kind of scatter their own separate ways. Renee gets away on a dinghy. Pirate and Corse are kind of set free by Gale, and they kind of scatter to the wind. And then they all meet gruesome fates. Renee is picked up by Demangier, who we first encounter in the story, who shoots him immediately. Gale is seen disgraced and like penniless, and at the end just kind of walks into the ocean to unalive himself. And Pirate and Court live in Peru. Pirate severely damaged by all of the warfare, and they kind of live this scrappy existing collecting whale fungus, but like sort of happy but sort of irreparably harmed. And that is the end of the script. It's a heady, swashbuckling adventure, and also kind of a dark and nihilistic meditation on what it means to desire something. It really stuck with me, but in the next part I'll explain the downfall of Shane himself.